Welcome to the Choosing Happiness podcast with me, your host, Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. Well, howdy, y'all. Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. That's right. I even wrote a book about it, Choosing Happiness, an uncommon way to find joy in your life. Speaks 8 languages. There's my shameless plug. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. My very special guest today is Miss Shelby Avann. That's right. From Canada, or she's in Canada right now. And we just quickly got introduced through a platform that we're both involved with on Facebook. But I want to jump right into who you are, Shelby. Please say hello to my podcast listeners and those smart enough to be on YouTube to see how gorgeous you are.
Hello,
about
everyone.
you, what you do, all the things. And let's just get right up in it.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. So I'm Shelby, and I'm a relationship and intimacy coach, as well as a healer. So I do Reiki healing as well. But basically what it is that I really like to do is to help people learn how to become more intimate with themselves so they can understand themselves, show up to be the truest form of themselves so that they can also show that to other people and have really great relationships in their lives.
Wow. I love that. I love that. I also teach a class called Relationship Done Different, which has to do with like the 5 elements of intimacy. So I love that you said the intimacy piece and being able to start with yourself. So what made you decide that that was your calling, so to speak? I'm putting it in quotes for those of you that are driving and can't see what I'm doing. What turned you on? What's the tail that wags the dog for you with this?
Well, it's what I needed is the gist of it. It's my own story that I started learning all this stuff for myself because I needed the healing. It actually originally started with the Reiki, with the energy healing stuff. So I kind of got more into a spiritual realm first, and then paralleled with some personal growth stuff. And then it went a little more like sciencey background and attachment style background, which is what I'm certified in now. But yeah, it was just, I just needed to feel better. And I was just trying to find different ways that would help me do that and become a better person and have better relationships in my life. And so once I started learning it, I was like, I want to share this with other people because it's making a difference for me. I feel better. And
because it works.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, why wouldn't I share this with people? It would be very selfish not to.
Right. You're like that woman, and whoever it was, that said, it's the next best thing to sliced bread.
Yeah.
But I totally get where you're coming from. And I love also that you started as a vibrational healer. That's something I do as well, different modalities, but I love Reiki. So how did you discover Reiki, and when did you know that you wanted to be a practitioner? You know what? Let's start with this. A lot of people are like, what the hell are y'all talking about? What is this Reiki they all talk? Seriously, because, I never know who's going to listen, and I have different, it isn't always people that are kind of like doing what I'm doing that I have on the show. Yeah. So could you explain to our listeners what Reiki is or what it is for you?
Yeah. So Reiki is energy healing. So it's basically this source energy. It's not, I think like one of the important things to know about Reiki is that it is source energy. It's not something that's religious. It's just like the energy that is around us.
Universal energy, maybe.
Pardon?
Like universal. Yeah. It's available to all of us.
Yeah, it's literally, that's literally what it stands for. It's Japanese. It's universal energy. But yeah, so it's this energy that basically we get to, we're initiated into being open to channel it through our bodies through, I did 3 levels of it and got my master's. And it just helps it channels through me into the client. And then it helps move the energy through the body to help clear out any stuck and stagnant energy blockages that might be there. But I find Reiki for me is also it's very intuitive. It's, I would say, very psychic in a sense.
Right. Sure.
For me as well. I get a lot of messages of my clients' emotional body and pain in the body potentially too, or deficiencies that they need. So all depending on who's on my table, I've had a lot of the time is very emotional stuff. So it's relationship stuff that's going on that's causing these blockages because they haven't, they're not speaking up. They're not letting it out. It's harboring and it's creating anxiety or stress or whatever it is. And that is literally what the blockages are in the body. So stuff like that will come up. And then sometimes like I had food come up a lot. So I think it was like just different vegetables that someone was like deficient in. Like you just need to eat more vegetables by the sound of it based off of I keep getting shown vegetables all over your
Eat
body.
your spinach, y'all.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah. You need you need the nutrients that are coming from here, I guess.
I love it. I can imagine the looks on their faces. Well, your body telling me you're not eating enough vegetables.
Yeah. Well, it's
like
what? Yeah, but it's interesting though, because sometimes like as I'm saying it, I'm kind of thinking of like I know there's like the kids show Veggie Tales, and like I don't know, it could be about like a kids show, right? So it's very
Veggie Tales was produced here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I live, y'all, and I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I know the people that actually created Veggie Tales, and I had forgotten about it. And you're talking about it. Like created like 20 or 30 years ago. That's oh god, now I just dated myself. I was just born. No, go on, please. Veggie Tales.
And the point of it is that the messages that come through, like sometimes they can be very spot on and literal, but sometimes they can be very symbolic as well. So it's kind of up to the client to decipher. Sorry, this is the dog walker coming in.
Actually, the dog is a contribution to this podcast. For those of you that have pets, you know what I'm talking about because, but going for a walk, eh? Yeah. What's your dog's name?
Her name's Chewy.
Chewy, like the food company where you can buy the food?
No, like Chewbacca.
Okay, never mind. I take that back.
Yeah. No, she's actually, I'm taking care of her. Right now I do house sitting as well. So that's what I'm doing at the moment is I'm taking care of her for a while. So it's actually a long sit. It's like a 4-month sit. So it's a really nice one.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Well, good to know you. Maybe you'll come sit for me. No, you'll have to take care of my mom.
I like Nashville. I've been there before. I enjoy it.
Well, I'll take you around town when you come back next time because I know all about it. I've been here a minute.
Yeah.
A minute. So, okay. So you was talking about the energies, and sometimes it's emotional. I like to say that most of the time it's actually emotional, and that's what creates the physical aspect. Is that where you're going with this as well?
Or? Yeah. So there's like the blockages that come in the system. If we don't take care of what it is that we're doing, if we're not actually taking action, doing that personal growth and that healing that we need to do, I can do all the energy work as you come to me for, and it's not going to stay away because you need to be doing the work too. Right. Is the gist of it, which I find that I think that's one of the reasons I like to do Reiki. I really enjoy doing Reiki, but I've kind of stepped away more into the coaching side of things because I want people to take action. I don't want them to just come to me and be like, fix me. Right. I'm like, yes, that's your job. I don't want a codependent relationship here. Like you need to take accountability for your healing. I love that. So suffice it to say, did you have like a Reiki session and that's what made you go, I got to do this? Yeah, pretty much. My best friend at the time, she had done her first 2 levels and she's like, I need to try on some people. Can I try it on you? It's like, great manipulation. That's a great manipulation. I do it with my family too. I just learned this thing that if I do it on you, you'll be easier to be around. I mean, that I need to get my up. I don't think it was that. She actually was trying, like she wanted to, she wanted some like volunteers to sit for her so she could practice. And so she asked me like, I don't really know what it is. Like we actually had it done. So my family's always had horses. We're a horse family. Oh, I'm jealous. And one of our horses actually had Reiki done to him at the one point in time. So I knew it from that, but I didn't I just kind of saw, I didn't really understand what it was. So I was like, sure. Like I'll try it. I don't know. We've had it done to the horses one time before. And then it was just such a cool experience. And I was like, I really like this. Like, I don't know. I don't really understand it. It's an interest. It was so interesting because I didn't know how she was getting the messages she was getting. I felt like these different sensations in my body of like hot, cold, tingles. I could like literally see like light bars shooting through my body. It was a really like wild experience that I'd never had before. So it's like, I was like, this is kind of magical. I think I want a hand in this. Like, this is neat. I love that you said that. You are a magical being. And, all of you listening, believe it or not, you can create the magic. I mean, we're professionals. We have, the certifications to prove it and all the things, but it's not something that's beyond your reach. And I find too, Shelby, that if someone's not actually willing to receive and they come to you and they want you to put a Band-Aid on it, that they don't actually, in my experience, get the full benefit. I mean, you're moving something, you are. I mean, it's just like, it's like this electromagnetic charges that come off of the body when I'm working on people. So I know something's leaving, whether they can perceive the energy of it or not. But the more willing they are,
Like when they come and they really want healing and they're willing to do, like you said, I'll put it in quotes, the work to get there. That's when I find the greatest transformation. Has that been the case for you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that there's like different levels of the journey for people. Cause again, I compare it to my own and I see where other people are too. And it's kind of like, sometimes people are at the beginning. And for me, that's like this whole, learning phase. So it's all the books, needing to learn all the things, reiterating all the things, thinking that you're doing the healing, but you're kind of like just reiterating what the books are. You're not actually embodied in what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to be a good student here and I'm going to do everything it says for me to do, even if I don't know what that is.
Yeah. And like, I think I don't know, it's just a part of the process. There's eventually it will be embodied, but it's nice to like learn all the things at the beginning. Cause I know I did. And I remember I was definitely like very preachy about all the stuff that I was learning. But looking back, it wasn't embodied at all. I was just kind of like, but I was still like dysregulated in my nervous system. I still had this like similar patterns as for what was going on. I didn't actually know what I was like, how to handle the stuff yet. So, but I liked what I was learning and I liked educating
probably
myself.
Is what makes you such a great coach as well, because you've already been through it. You know about that excitement when you go, oh, wow, there's actually a possibility here for me to change this. And, so you're eager, you're hungry to get all the informations, even if you can't actually articulate it. But for me, the biggest turn on is watching when people do get it.
Yeah.
And they're actually willing to create that change in their bodies, So, and I know about you, I'm so funny. I would rather do the energy work than the mental work, although we do have clearing statements and access consciousness, which is what I'm certified. I'm a certified facilitator in that franchise, so to speak. And, for me, it's like I have people that just want a reading. They just come to me. I'm a medical intuitive and they just want a reading what's going on. And they want to know what pill to take and all this stuff. Yeah. Whereas I want to just get my hands on them and be like, we can rotor you. We can have a conversation also. And so now what I find I do is I've kind of integrated the two, where I suggest, hey, you might want to consider this really weird stuff I call it. It's not Reiki, but I'm sure it's very similar to what
energy work. Yeah,
exactly. We just have to put names on it for our sake. And I encourage them, let's do both. So you say now you're a life coach. So you were doing the Reiki first, and then what led you to actually decide that you needed to integrate and create the coaching part as well? And what does that look like? Somebody comes to you. Yeah. What happens?
Well, I'll answer the first part of the question. So like why I ended up moving more into the coaching side of it was kind of already like what I alluded to, which was that well, actually, no, maybe I haven't alluded to it yet, but I realized that in my Reiki sessions, like I wasn't really able to give people help off like outside of the session itself. Yeah. Like, hey, I just found out all this information for you. Like these are kind of the problems that are going on. Off you go. Like how, I don't really have any tools of how to help you fix it. Or what actions to take or what you could potentially do. Like I was kind of like, I just feel like there's questions. I'm leaving people with questions. I'm not leaving people with answers.
Right? Kind of like unfinished business where it's like, okay, they're getting the work. They can notice that some things are happening, but there's more to the story and they could integrate further if they could be willing to, do some of this work that you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it was like the puzzle piece for me too. So as I was going through and finding different things that were working for me or not working for me, I fell upon attachment styles, like learning about different types of attachment styles. And the particular program that I found, I just was like, this is exactly what I've been missing. Like I understand myself so much better because of this now.
What is it? What do you mean by attachment styles? I mean, I get the energy of it, but for those that might not, because it sounds like, language within this work that you do that maybe somebody else wouldn't understand. Can you define it a little more?
Yeah. So attachment styles is basically like what is your style of attachment to the humans in your life, to your caregivers? So usually attachment style is developed when you're younger, when you're a child with your parents. So you could be more anxious, you could be more dismissive avoidant, or you could be a combination of both, which is fearful avoidant or disorganized, which kind of like basically fluctuates between being really anxious or being avoidant, and just depending where you are in the moment.
I love it. Yeah. Because I see it in children a lot that are have ADHD and ADD and autism, where they get overwhelmed and they just lash out, or kicking and screaming or whatever, and then they withdraw because they can't function in that chaos.
Yeah.
Would you say it's similar to that?
Yeah, kind of. I think with that, it's a little like there's obviously like other factors at play there too. But yeah, there's similarities. So it's like going into like protection mechanisms of some sort, and then how do I self-soothe?
I love it. Yeah, sometimes it's like the and I'll just say it because I know a lot of people that have been in this situation where they detach from their body when the perpetrator is, well, like in a rape case or something of that nature, or beating, and they're like, the only way they can survive is that they check out, and that's okay. But once, which it's a good thing, you don't want to die. The body thinks it's dying or something.
Yeah.
And then when you can look at it, that's when you can actually unwind that trauma. It's locked in the cellular memory, all the things. I think this is fascinating. I want to talk further about it, but I got to pay the bills. So I need to take just a moment for our sponsor, Mandu. Mandu's my sponsor, y'all. It is not a male salon for men's. I mean, hair salon, male salon. Because I'm not male, and I actually go there, and it's not a salon. It's a type of workout. It's amazing. It's a 15-minute workout that actually it's like you worked out for 2.5 hours. All these electrodes that are tens units per se strapped to your body in something that looks like a Borg. Well, now I've dated myself, those of you that ever watched Star Trek. And basically you go through this 15-minute workout with very slow movements, and you get to work muscles that you never thought you could. So if you got just a minute to listen to this little commercial, we'll be right back.
Mandu is a boutique fitness studio concept, and we are actually the first FDA cleared EMS training workout. And what we do essentially is that we will have a client come in, we will hook them up to a whole body EMS suit, and then we perform a workout on a medical grade device called an eFit device. And that device will send an electrical current to their body through electrodes in these suits that we put on them. And this electrical current is just basically stimulating the electrical current that you already have inside your body. So everybody is made up of electrical impulses. It's what helps you walk, helps you move. We're tapping into that and making it stimulate it more to where we can cause a muscle to actually contract involuntarily. So we can actually create resistance without adding a load to the body. So that is why we, as you see online, it always says ultra low impact. It is scientifically proven. It is absolutely ultra low impact.
And we're back with my special guest, Shelby Avann. Thank you so very much. Reiki healer, vibrational healer, and life coach. She was talking about the intimacy issues that have to also be addressed. And I want to get further into that piece. I'm not sure how you want to lead into, because everybody has their own story, Shelby, right? You and I, we have our stories that led us to where we are. For me, I teach what I most want to learn because of the things that I've been through. Would you say that that's a similar situation for you that got you into this work? I mean, you alluded to it. Can you tell us a little more about it, or maybe tell us about your personal story, if you would?
Yeah, sure. So a big driving factor for me is like I really felt like I started to lack emotional connection, because there was like a rupture in the family. That's kind of what started, like what I was saying earlier, of being, like I wasn't feeling good. I was kind of like needing something to feel better. And so I started moving into the realm of spirituality and energy healing, and there first. And then as I found like the attachment style stuff, that started actually being the part where I really started to exponentially change. And I really, really started to see the difference, because I started learning about, like I started blending the science and the spirituality together.
I love it.
Yeah. So there's different things that I found with, this is kind of going off of your question, but I started realizing that some of the things that like I kept hearing in the realms of spirituality and energy, like I started to understand where they came from. So things like ego versus intuition, and how that relates to the nervous system.
Oh no, tell me about that. Tell me about that. Ego versus
intuition.
Yes.
Okay. So the intuitive voice, you have to get really quiet and centered to be able to actually hear it really come through. And so I was able to do that in the past without like realizing what the effects of the nervous system were on it. But to be in a regulated state within your nervous system means that you are grounded, you are centered, and you don't have your anxiety thoughts aren't there at that moment in time.
Right. The fight or flight thing isn't there.
Yeah, like basically
More
your body
expanded space.
Yeah, your body feels safe. Your body feels safe. It feels safe to communicate. It feels safe to be social. And that means that your body is in a regulated nervous system state.
So,
Therefore,
is it parasympathetic nervous system?
I always get them mixed up. I think parasympathetic is the right one, but I just go with it's either you're regulated or you're not.
Bear with us, folks. It's either one or the other. It's either parasympathetic or parasympathetic. But
yes,
one is
I like to put it in layman's terms for people.
Please.
Like I just like to simplify it. I get confused with the scientific terms. So listen, it's you're regulated or you're not. So with intuition, it's such a quiet voice, and it doesn't fight to be heard. It's like you're either going to listen to me or you're not, and that's fine. And like when you're quiet enough and ready, like I'll be here. I'll be here and I'll guide you in the right direction without fail, like without any doubt. I find intuition is always exactly what you need to hear. It will put you in the right direction. It might not make sense, but then once you do it, you're like, okay, you're right.
I'm in a safe place. I didn't die.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I've had a couple of things with intuition come up, and there's one particular one, which I find so interesting that I just got this hit I wanted to go work out. I hadn't worked out for like a week, and I was like, okay, I'm going to my class tonight. And then I got a hit from my intuition being like, no, not tonight. It's like, I have to go. I haven't worked out. What do you mean? No. So I left anyway. And then there was like, I literally started driving maybe 10 minutes, and then like a whiteout snowstorm hit. I could not see. I got on the highway to go, and I was like, oh, I get it. I get it now. Okay. I see why you said no. I hear you. I'll turn back now.
That's a beautiful story. That's happened to me as well, where I'm fighting, and I'm like, and it's so funny that you use the example of working out, because I broke my wrist early on, like right after Thanksgiving, early on in the holidays, when you have to do all the stuff. And then my left toe got broken, and then I sprained my right finger here, and got all kinds of illnesses. And I'm like, and I was still trying to work out. And my body was like, bitch, just stay in bed. And it forced me to take time off, which was such a gift because it slowed me down. And then I was like, body, I am so sorry. I just drag you around, I will let you be the boss of me. And so initially we were going to just take January off, and then I still wasn't 100%. So we are taking February off. For those of you that don't know, if you're watching in the future, it's February 23rd when this conversation is happening. But I did go do my man do a couple of days ago. I am sore today. It looked like I did nothing. You're doing these really slow pretend curls. There's no bar in your hand.
Yeah.
And you're doing squats, and my butt was hurting so bad this morning. I went, what? Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, I worked out. I love it. But I waited until my body was ready for it.
Yeah.
So I love that you used that example,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we're hard-headed. We don't listen to our intuitions.
Yeah.
So anyway, please continue. You just made me think of that. And it's so funny to me. Anyway.
Yeah. Please. Okay. So then the opposite would be if we're in a dysregulated state, then we're more so in the ego, like it's ego fear mindset. So we're dysregulated in our body. We're either in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode. So maybe we're people pleasing, maybe we're being avoidant and we're pulling away from people. Maybe we're getting in people's faces and being like, you're like, are you questioning my existence? Like, what do you mean? Like, come at me.
Your dukes. Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like I need to fight for my right to be heard, or whatever it is that they feel so passionate about. It's like, sure, but not in this way.
Right.
But usually that's like it's a response of not being heard or seen or feeling where like something is there. What I say, fight, flight. Yeah. Or running away. So avoiding or completely shutting down. The freeze.
Avoiding or defending is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Avoid, defend, or shut down. So shut down is the one that a lot of people don't really understand, but it very much goes with like, it's a big trauma response. It's that, I find it's very connected with that dissociation, like leaving the body, but also feeling like you just can't move. Like if you're feeling like all you can do is lay in bed and quite literally curl up in a ball and you can't get warm, it's because your body feels like it has to defend itself, and all the blood has to go literally to the core of your body in order to protect itself.
Interesting. That's how my cat's behaving right now. Let me explain. I have to give her medicine in her ears. It's not going to hurt her, okay? And I have to put gloves on, which is probably really weird because I don't want it to get into my dermis.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a dermis thing.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I think I know what it is, actually, this particular drug. Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes through the skin.
I can't get her to eat it, so we had to do it that way. Yeah. And now every time I walk in the room, if she's somewhere where I can grab her, she just runs to a corner underneath a piece of furniture or something and rolls up in a little tight ball because she does not want me to touch her. I mean, last night I got in kind of late. I was meeting with a singer-songwriter friend, which is something else I do. I couldn't find her. And I'm like, well, where the heck is she? I know she didn't go out the door with me. And I'm asking my mom, she doesn't know. And then I got the intuitive hit. She under the bed hiding from me. And sure enough, I had just gotten those little roller things out to put my sweaters in because the really thick ones, and I'm rolling them under the bed. She's up on top of one of my sweaters. And I roll it out and she thinks that she can do this and disappear. She's like, oh, and I'm like, Pepita, mi dispiace che cosa bella ragazza. I'm so sorry, baby girl.
Yeah.
But, I'm only going to do that. I was doing it twice a day and it was making her throw up. So the doctor said, just back off and do it once a day until her body gets used to it. But
yeah,
that's exactly, that's the thing about animals. They actually show you how they feel.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Even if they don't understand why, they know, why are you coming at me with and it doesn't hurt her. Like a minute later, I give her one of them squeezy things, that cat crack stuff.
Yeah.
You have a tube. I love you, Ken. I love you. You're my person. So, but I have seen that also where it's like a catatonic sort of space to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, they're either hitting their head up against the wall or I have a niece that has some stuff that makes her kind of go a little anxiety ridden. Well, she'll start repeating herself and walking around and fidgeting and all of this stuff. And there was finally some tools that I could give her so that she could kind of rein it back in, So I get it. And what do you recommend for people they think they can't get past that? They're like, okay, this is great. You telling me this, Shelby, I have this issue, but how in the world am I ever going to get past it if I can't get beyond this place where I'm, my body's trying to protect itself or whatever. And I can't step out of it. Like the anxiety is so real and true for them that they can't move forward. What would you say to those people?
Have compassion for yourself first. Because it's not, I think at the beginning, it seems like, why is this happening to me? Why can I not control this? Why, this is the worst thing ever that's going on, versus having compassion and being like, my body's trying to protect myself from something that's too much for me or has been too much for me. And I haven't learned how to deal with it yet. But yeah, if you can start to find compassion for yourself and say, okay, I recognize that my body is protecting me. What is, what's going on? What is it that I need protection from? And usually this is kind of like where you might go into something like inner child work, where you just, I can just sit and then picture, just be like, okay, a little me come forward. And then you just see what age comes forward. And there'll be a certain age, a certain age that comes up for you, and you'll see them. And actually, no, I shouldn't say that. This works for me. This might not work for everyone, but anyway.
No, I'm following along. It's like, okay, all of a sudden you see 7-year-old Shelby and you're like, hey, honey, it's okay. We made it.
Well, yeah. And then you'll see exactly what they're doing too, right? So some days she's quite happy. Some days she's in the corner, doesn't want to talk to me. Some days it's she's crying and she wants to be held. It's different. It comes up in a different way. So it's like, okay, so if you visualize that, what is it that they need right now?
Right.
And just try to intuit it or ask or have a conversation, see what you can get out of there, because there's something in that as for what's happening in the moment, because it's something from the past that's coming up and living in your body still. So you have to let it move through your body and address it in a compassionate way. Because you keep judging it, then it's basically listen, little child, you're bad. Go in the corner, continue to do what you're doing.
Right.
And you're not going to be seen, heard, or cared for, and just deal with it.
And my favorite one is sit in the corner and stare at the wall and think about what you did. And you're like,
Yeah. And I'm like, well,
well, I was protecting myself. You're like, going, what did I do? Why don't you tell me what I did? You were a bad girl. Okay. So when I'm excited or playing, I'm too loud. That's bad.
Yeah. Well, then it's like, okay,
it
so this is too much. If I do this, then if I express myself, then that's bad. And that's like think of how that relates in life. So then if you want to express yourself in any way later, so you're not going to actually speak up for yourself, you're not going to, express different ideas and creativity that you have. Like it's
like
very,
you're stuck in these PTSD systems, for example. I'll give you an example. So for me, my childhood was crazy. My father was very strict, came from a Roman Catholic family, and he never spared the rod. And I would run away from home quite a bit. It was
because it was scary.
It was scary, and I would leave my body sometimes, and I couldn't explain the bruises I had when I'd go to school, and I'd always make something up because he would say, "Well, give you something to cry about," or if you tell anybody, you're going to really be sorry, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm implanted with all this cellular memory, trying to be the good girl, and I, finally did a deal and deliver and went to college at 16 because it was so traumatic that I just couldn't bear to be at home anymore. I was like, I'm sorry, Mom, this isn't working for me. So we dealt with the guidance counselor, and I got to skip a grade and graduate early. And I even got a scholarship for my SATs. And so here I am now, 16 in college and all this stuff. And I realized, not everybody is living this life. And so I managed to find me, and I did some therapies, and just like you're trying to find, you want to feel better. You're doing all this stuff. And I think I've made it, excuse me, I become a meditation teacher, and I do Shakti pod, and I can open people's third eyes. And I'm learning all the clairaudience and clairvoyance and all the things. And I think I've got it all together. Maybe that's some ego sneaking in, and you think you know everything until something else happens. And then I don't know if you know my story, but I was in India and I got shot by terrorists on a peace, love, and understanding retreat. And so, but I had all these amazing tools. So I was using them, and the PTSD just wasn't coming up. It wasn't coming up, but I noticed that I was getting migraines. I was having trouble sleeping. And so, I was taking more Advil and all this stuff. And finally I thought, why am I a holistic therapist and I'm taking all this stuff? So I went to see a homeopath and eventually started getting off of all these things were keeping these PTSD systems stuck in my body that I couldn't get past. Yeah. And that's when the night terrors started. Yeah. Was when I started to get off all the things. But it wasn't the terrorist attack that I ever had as a night terror. It was these, it was crazy. So I had to get really clear about that. I went to 3 different holistic therapists. I did my meditations. I did all the tools I needed. I started to read a book called The Body Keeps the Score. Have you heard about it?
Yeah, I know it.
And it was giving me more PTSD, so I had to stop reading.
It's hard. It's good, but it's hard to read because they give very specific examples to it.
Oh my gosh, everything that I had done. I had been a marathon runner. I was a bodybuilder. I did all these things to keep myself busy, to keep all that stuff locked in my system. And I realized what I needed to do was relax and receive me. So I love that you're doing this work. And I want to acknowledge, what you're creating for those that don't realize that they have a choice to get out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's actually one of the big things. Like, I don't think it's actually one of the things I consistently say in my coaching, but it's something that I very much live by. Being like, you do have a choice, and you can question what people are telling you and what's going on. Like, do you actually want to go with those rules that people are saying, or do you actually want to do the task that way because like they told you to do that? Or does your gut say something's off? Like, why do we need to do that? You're allowed to question it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, okay. If you were to do a TED Talk, I know, and that just popped into my head. I don't even know where it came from. If you want to do a TED Talk, but it's a really quickie, it's like 3 to 5 minutes. Be the invitation for what you can be to help others that want to go on that journey of healing, and getting past all of this stuff. They're sick of it. They're ready to go. They're your people. And you're on the stage. What would you say? Now she's on the spot.
Yeah.
You want me to set a
Okay.
timer? We could make it fun if you want. I don't know.
No timer. That's
Okay.
pressure. It's like,
Now she's going into fight or flight, y'all. No, just joking.
yeah. Like, oh God, I gotta think about this.
Take your time.
Listen, it'd be the same thing as what I was saying earlier. So, like, find compassion for yourself and start to listen to your body, because your body is consistently telling you things that that you need to know. It's consistently telling you whether you feel safe or not, and then you're choosing whether or not to listen to it. And a lot of the times, we've just started to decide that we're not going to listen to the little signals that our body's giving us. It's there all the time.
Teach them how to listen to their body things. I want you to make yourself part of the equation. You're talking. You just met somebody on the street and they said, "What is it you do?" You wouldn't say, "Well, first have compassion for yourself." You would say, "Well, I'm a life coach, and what turns me on is showing people maybe and
helping people get back in their bodies and out of their heads."
I love it. Oh, you know what? That's a great meme. You know what? That's actually a mic drop. I got props, girl, because you never know if I'm going to break out in song. True story. For those of you on YouTube that know me, you know that I like to sing in inappropriate times, according to some people. But okay, so you help people get back into their bodies. And how would you do that?
So I just start asking questions. So I'll just be like, what was the most recent time that you felt that you were activated? Like, when did anxiety start to pop up? What was happening? When did
the trigger? I guess the trigger. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So can you figure out like what situation that was in particular? And then how did your body feel in that moment? Like, where did the anxiety live? Because for me, I know it's in my stomach.
Oh.
I feel nauseous. Okay. I can start to feel like a gas electron. So solid, liquid, gas, and you see all the electrons bouncing around in the gas one. I can feel like that if I have anxiety going through my body. And so being able to start to name those things can actually, this is like what somatic processing is. It actually helps you to get out of your head and into your body, because now you're saying, okay, in my body, I feel like, I know this is anxiety. I feel it in my stomach.
And you know what it is.
Like,
so
yeah.
The thing is, like, I would get brain shakes, but once I knew what it was, and it was just my body's way of trying to diffuse things.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, body. And I would lay on my bed and just let my body shake until it stopped.
Yeah.
Because me trying to suppress it was exactly the wrong thing to do to release it. It was just keeping it in my body. I love that.
Yeah. And that's very much, again, talking about like that freeze part of the nervous system. Like, when we have that response, like there's one of these books, I think it's called Mary Magdalene Revealed.
Oh,
have you read that?
No, but I'm a big Mary lover. I'm sorry. If you were in my office right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 of them. Because I have a connection with Mother Earth and the Mother and Magdalene and all this stuff. So now I got to get this book, girl. We're going to make sure I have a link underneath for both of these books we've talked about, in case you guys are curious. We'll have them in the show notes. So tell me about this.
So it's Mary Magdalene Revealed. And this is like, again, more of like, I consider it a more spiritual book, but at the same time, it's very much it's still based in the Bible and some of the stories that were left out. Because there's I think there's like four stories that were left out, and one is written by Mary Magdalene. So the person that is writing the book, this part isn't specifically actually about that, but she talks about the nervous system, and she had like a traumatic experience too, where she went into freeze and she really judged herself for it. And then later she realized that she gave the example of like, if in animal world, so if an impala is out running and then it gets caught by the cheetah, its instant nervous system response will be, I'm going to die.
Right.
So I'm going to go into freeze mode. And you kind of alluded to this already too. I'm going to die. I'm going to go into freeze mode. The cheetah takes the impala back to wherever its camp is, and then drops it. And then when it lets it go, the impala comes back out of freeze mode and then is able to run away. But then it's also able to shake it off. So like you were saying, like you had the shakes afterwards. So shaking it off and running is a part of like completing the system. the cycle of the nervous system
Thank you.
response. So if we don't let ourselves do that and we keep going into this freeze response and then just it stays like that and we just can't move, we can't do anything, we don't go and do exercise, we don't run it off, we don't get that community that we need afterwards, that support, then it just stays in our body until we're able to release it. And then it can come out in these ways that seem really weird, but they're not. It's just like my body needs to shake it off. This response has been in my body for so long. And now it's just coming out, and it's kind of coming out in an intense way. And it shows up in these like pain spots in our body and different, like, so it's just let it release out in the ways that it needs to come. Sometimes it might need to be through voice and using your words and the actions that you take and relearning, like in doing the coaching that I offer and saying, like, I need to speak up for myself. I need to understand my needs, set my boundaries, understand my core wounding. Start to say no and actually, right? Just say no.
She's talking about self-care. It's interesting you say that because that's exactly what my, I went to a holistic acupuncturist chiropractor, easy for me to say with my retainers, and I've got Invisalign going on here. Where, he called it unwinding. And I would never let my body do it. If I would get anxiety or something, and I was out in the world, I would sit on my hands and restrict everything. So all I was doing was locking it further into my body. So he was doing these needles that were actually releasing it, where I would start shaking and I'd say, you sure you don't want to make this a padded room? Because I don't know where I'm going to end up. And I remember, seriously, girl, I was like flopping like a fish.
Yeah.
And he comes back in later after I'd had my little spell. So funny. And I'm halfway hanging off the massage table, like my feet are on the table, but my back and my arms are over here. And he opened the door, and this man's amazing because he's got such great bedside manner. He goes, "Oh, so that's how you ended up. Really interesting."
I'm surprised he left, to be honest, actually, as of hearing that. I'm like, I feel like if you know that's going to happen, you should probably like stay and be like,
we didn't know it was going to happen to that level because it hadn't before, but I was just doing some twitching. He goes, "Are you okay?" And he left. And then he had told me, allow your body to do as much as you will allow, because the more you can release. And I took it to heart, man. I was like, gosh, Shelby, I was like, I'm determined to get, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right, or whatever, put that in quotes. And so I was really like, when the convulsing really started, I was like, wow, body, I'm so sorry. I've been like, and then my body got excited because it was like, oh wow, she's in it to win it. And we went for it. But then when he said, that's how you ended up. And I was like, yeah, can you kind of help me get back up on the table? So he laid me there. We put my head in a head cradle. I sleep in a head cradle sometimes when I can start feeling the brain shake so that I don't hurt myself. And he helped me lay there, and I slept for 2 hours. I integrated for 2 hours. They came and woke me up because they were getting ready to close the facility. And in the beginning, I was going 3 or 4 times a week. But we managed to unwind, I would say 98% of it, because there's still an occasional twitch I'll get. It's diagnosed as hyperkinetic movement disorder that I have, where the brain kind of disassociates with stuff. But we did it in 3 months. And that's one of the books that I'm working on right now, which is called PTSD in Me, about how I was able to unwind this stuff naturally, which I think is what you're talking about. I might have to use you as a reference point in a book if you're interested. But I really, I can perceive how much help, especially now that a lot of people have PTSD from just being locked up over COVID. Initially wanted it for our servicemen. And yet I found it so hard for me to get my foot in the door because they're so proud. They don't want to have that vulnerability piece that we started with. Actually admit that, what, I got a problem here. They would rather kill themselves than admit.
It's hard. Well, I think it's hard. It's so hard to face though, too. I think that's part of it. Cause like even in hearing your experience, that sounds hard. It sounds very, very hard to
It wasn't easy. It's like a dark night of the soul, y'all, but I went through it because I knew that I couldn't live like that anymore. I just couldn't live like that anymore. When it started coming up, I couldn't function in the world. I was stuttering. I couldn't swallow. I lost, I was a rail. I mean, I had lost like 32 pounds because I couldn't eat. I couldn't, it was weird. I was drinking, like I was doing a liquid diet because it was the only thing I could get down. And even that sometimes was hard. I couldn't put the fruit in the shakes because even the fibrous part was just hard. You know, and I get it. I get it. And that's the reason why, you know, I can't point the finger at anybody. You're not trying hard enough. I get it. I wanted to die. Not that I was going to kill myself. I couldn't do that. I'm that too much of a coward to kill myself. But I was so afraid of falling asleep and not waking up.
Yeah.
Because of this, I couldn't breathe, and I had these anxieties, and it was for real. So
yeah, and I think
use it, you know.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing too that I've witnessed is because I have a friend who he went to war, and he's healed his PTSD. But like, you know, in hearing that and in hearing some of the struggles that he has with it too, it's like, you know, women are expected to have this emotional support. Like we have more emotional support than men do, right? So it's kind of like, you mean you want me to try to heal this stuff, and I don't have the resources to do that? Like how could that would be scary for a man?
Sure it would.
Right? So
It
it's
would,
kind of like
they're told to be, you know, strong and stiff upper lip and all this stuff. And I mean, and I have a friend, David Corlew, who has I can't remember the name of it. It was a program that he carried on that has to do with our veterans and whatnot. And I went to a special dinner they had, you know, it's the $500 sit down dinner where they had entertainment and all this. Excuse me. It's the weather here. It's cold and then it's hot and it's cold and my sinuses don't like it. So it's okay, buddy. You can have that point of view. And so, you know, I tried so hard to get my foot in the door because he has a direct line to all these soldiers that are suffering from PTSD and all the things. And he also suffers from PTSD, and I can't get him on my table. And then he is constantly posting, and I see somebody else who has killed themselves because they couldn't bear all the night terrors and everything else that was going on. I totally get it. And yeah, they're this soldier. They're expected to to be the pillar of our community. They're protecting us. Yeah. And they can't even function in the world. And where are we for them? And I get it. They don't feel like they have permission to go there or to have that vulnerability.
Or they just literally don't have the community. Like that's the thing that I kind of kept hearing was like, it depends on, there's the community. It's hard. It's there, but it's kind of like, where do you start? Where can I actually find it? Where's the one that's actually going to be right for me? Because there's lots of different avenues, but if you don't know, it's hard it can be very hard and intimidating to try to find it when you're also already going through all this stuff. Right. So
are you that safe haven are you that community that they could?
I can be. I actually don't prefer to work with straight men at this particular point in time. That's just my preference at the moment. Got it. But I have people that I can direct. That's just my preference. I just find
it's a women's only club, she said. No,
it's not. No, I was working with a gay man last night, actually. So I like working with the LGBTQ community as well. Yeah. But I just find that sometimes it's kind of like, honestly, I don't know whether you're actually here to work or you're here because you want to hang out with me.
I get it.
And I don't really want that. I want you to do the work.
Well, good. You know what? I want to acknowledge your due diligence. You're like, I'm serious about what I do. I know what works for me, and I know what doesn't work for me. And if you don't like that, that's just too bad.
Yeah. Well, I can still get triggered sometimes by men in general. So I'm like, that's not very helpful to you if I get triggered because of whatever stuff's coming up for you. So I'm not at the point where I can do that right now. So I can do that with women. I can do that with the LGBTQ community, but with men right now, I can't do that. I'm not at that point. So
and that's part of your own history.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And then there was something I actually wanted to talk about too, because this is a huge aspect of what I also really I'm interested in within my work. So like I'm very much big into the world of sexuality as well, and healing through sexuality. So like this is something that I talk about. I don't do anything like hands-on or anything like that. Okay. But being able to have those open conversations with people and how much sexuality can actually be a huge part in healing, especially with people that have had very like traumatic. It doesn't even have to be like super, super traumatic experiences, but just, like I feel like I was going to say a lot of women, but I feel like in general, if we're not in tune with our bodies, there's a lot of like self-consent issues that we can go through in life without even realizing that we're dishonoring ourselves.
Self-consent. Oh my gosh, I've never heard it put that way before.
Well, it's like think of any relationships that you've been in, like you just moved too fast and you knew you were moving too fast. And so like that's a self-consent violation.
Right.
Right?
No, I totally get what you're saying. And I'm that person now, because, I know I'm kind of cute, right? And I always have to second guess, like even last night, I'm going there to talk about our music and da 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 da. But do you have an agenda that I'm not aware of? And sometimes I pretend like that I'm not aware of it, because that's the safest way for me to get through it.
Yeah, that's
or I'll
very common.
Say, are you auditioning? Make a joke about it or whatever, because I got to get to know the being, and it may take 5 or 6 visits to get there. And even then, when you finally move into the intimacy piece, I got to go slow there too. And it could be that it isn't a fit, but you could be a great friend, or I've learned a lot. Thank you very much. You can go your own way, and there's no offense taken and all the things. But I remember in the younger days, I just wanted to be liked, and I moved way too fast. I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, no, I see all the signs. My intuitive nature is ramped up. I'm like it's like when I'm driving, I can always tell when a car's getting ready to swerve into me or I need to put the brakes on.
Yeah.
I'm a very righteous driver because I'm so good at it. And I have this oneness with my car. It's that intuitive piece you were talking about. And I could have it with my car, but I couldn't seem to have it in relationships, because I never could see their agenda. I wasn't willing to see it. I wasn't willing to look at it. And now it's so hyper that I have to kind of dial it back a little bit and go, now, are you just doing that because of your past experiences and you're being triggered? Or are you really following your awareness here? And, and when something pops up that isn't going to work for me, I'm going to be the first person to say, if I didn't know any better, it sounds like you're trying to manipulate me into bed or whatever it is.
Yeah, or whatever the situation is. Yeah, well, but some of those things. So it's interesting too, because it's like there's intuition, and then again going back to the stories, like are we just regulated now, or was this a moment of like, am I actually unsafe, or am I like, am I kind of putting a certain label on it, like or feeling around it because I'm just being defensive because of my past things that I haven't fully healed yet. So it's like an interesting thing to go through, but you also don't want to gaslight yourself at the same time and be like, it's not, no, it's like, it's an, I felt unsafe. And then I'm like, no, just kidding. It is safe. I mean, what was I thinking? Like, don't gaslight yourself. But
I can teach classes in gaslighting. That's so funny. You're killing me here.
Yeah. So, yeah, but sorry, there was one thing that I really, really wanted to get back to though, too,
Please.
as you're talking about like it's going back to the shaking parts. Okay. So there's a side in sexuality that also very much comes out. And I find this is like there's energetics in sexuality. So this is kind of like Tantra stuff, but it's also, I don't know if you've heard of the Erotic Blueprints by Jaya.
Wow, that rings a bell. This is something I heard about a long time ago. So please enlighten me, remind me and let our listeners know what this is about. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
So Jaya has these erotic blueprints, which it's basically like, she has a test and it tells you where your eroticism lies basically. So are you a more sensual person? Are you more energetic? Are you more like sexual, physical, in the way that you go towards sex? Are you kinky, or are you a shapeshifter, being like you're a little bit of everything? Huh. And I think that there's like, I'm kind of all of them. But I'm very energetic, and I find that that's very much been coming up more so recently, and especially within the level of healing, it's been coming up more for me. So I've had these moments with partners as I've kind of been moving through my own like trauma release stuff, where I'll end up moving through like real orgasm or real physical orgasm or energy orgasm. And then after, and then I end up, it feels like what you're kind of describing. Like I'm kind of like convulsing around on the bed, or it's still like rippling through me and I can't stop like this waving that happens through my body, or I start crying, or it's all of the above. And so
there's a Kundalini experience also, right? Would you say?
Well, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet, because it's still something that I'm like working through and experiencing. Okay. I feel like it's like this, like recently I felt like it's this energy that keeps getting built in me and then it doesn't know how to get out. So then I just start like shaking. So I don't know whether it's that sexual energy building inside me, or whether it's like trauma stuff coming out, or a little bit of both. But it's interesting. And I don't think that people are aware that can happen. And then like, if it does, you're kind of like, what just happened? Yeah. Because if you don't have a partner that kind of knows anything about it, or you don't know anything about it, then you might feel like a freak for whatever's going on. Because you're like,
what did you do to me?
I am convulsing. Like, what is happening? Like, am I okay?
Is this the devil?
Yeah. Like,
I'm
right.
not
So
possessed.
yeah. So it can be like, this is like weird, man. But that's not very helpful in the moment when it's happening. Like, again,
No,
it needs to be met with compassion and being like, listen, I've got you. Like, what is it that you need? And sometimes it's kind of like, I either need to let it ride out, or I might need like compression. I need to feel grounded. So can you like lay on top of me and ground me, or can you put your hands on me
Right.
somewhere that feels safe and good and help to ground me, like
Sure.
hold my hips down so I can feel like I'm grounded back into the earth, or on my chest so I can feel grounded in my heart, and or just be there for me, or hold me, or like any of those things, right? Because there's very, very healing moments that can happen during like sex and that physical intimacy.
Sure. Sure. I agree.
Which, if we can, like, if more people are able to open themselves up to that and just be able to hold space for people in those ways when things come up, and not be judgmental about what's happening, just be like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but tell me what you need. Like, it can be so healing, and sex in itself is so vulnerable that it's just like, I honestly feel that that's the like epitome of healing level when we can start to work on that.
I find that for a lot of people, it's the first time ever that they allow themselves to receive anything. And it may even just be the orgasm, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so strange that we can't receive in all aspects of our lives, I think, because, you know, I mean, I'm meditation or whatever it is, you know, my life, you know, I was telling somebody the other day, I haven't had this in so long, but there's this one piece of sushi that would be like an orgasm in my mouth. And it would, it's so crazy, but it gave me that same kind of sensation without, you know, actually flailing at the table, like in that movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, you know. Well, You've Got Mail, but it was, you know, reference points. It's a piece of sushi where it's the rice with the nori around it, or the seaweed, and then on top is uni, which is right, and then on top of that is the yolk of a quail egg.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then you just ever so slightly have the the nuance of it. I'm going to get everybody off.
This is sensual. I'm hearing this and I'm like, this is a sensual experience that you're having.
It's amazing. So, and then I have, you know, just the slightest bit of soy sauce with the green, whatever the green stuff is. I barely use it. Yeah. Wasabi. I barely use it. It's like, I'll have like a tiny piece with the soy sauce, and then I barely take that to just touch the bottom of the piece of sushi. And then you pop the whole thing in your mouth and you bite down and you feel that yolk going around your teeth. And now you're like, you guys better it's very sensual. I'm getting very sensual. You better get on the YouTube.
Very sensual.
And it's just like, you know, an orgasm in your mouth, and not that kind, fellas, but from this piece of sushi. I'm going to rein it back in there. Got to do it because it's a family show. Although we curse a little bit. It's a little PG, y'all. But, you know, and I was thinking about that the other day. And I said, man, I need, because nobody has the uni anymore. Not a lot of people are a fan of it because it's a very salty fish. Very sea urchin. It's very salty. Yeah. And then the quail egg. So by all means, y'all run over to your sushi master and have him create this for you. And if you don't find it as exuberating as it does for me, just watch this over and over, and then maybe
I'm gonna get sushi today. I'm like, I haven't had it in a while. It sounds good. I should go get some.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I could talk to you forever. You might have to be a repeat offender. I'm not sure here. And I may want to actually use you for some reference points in my book.
Sure.
I don't know exactly when that's going to come out. I keep talking about it, but I have so many other things I'm projecting right now. Not projecting, but projecting. That's a new word. I just made it up just now. And so, you know, it'll happen when it screams at me. I have a class called Listening to the Whispers of Creative Writing as well. And it's like, it's never a whisper for me, y'all. It's always like, it's time. Write the chapter, you know, or whatever. Well, anytime you feel like you want to write a book, it's already written, in my opinion. You're listening to the whispers that are telling you this book is ready to be birthed. Let us help you, you know. So all the things. But this has been an amazing conversation. I'm so grateful that you sought me out. Thank you. Because we're on the same page on a lot of these things. And I'm going to make sure everybody can find you. We'll have all the links so you can find Miss Shelby and all her expertise and all the stuffs. And we'll share the 2 books we talked about, the links for those, where they can find you, all the things I said. But before I let you go, I've got to ask you one last question, because it is called the Oops.
Dramatic.
Choosing Happiness podcast. That was my FedEx receipt. Choosing Happiness podcast. And so I'm sure my listeners are just dying to know, girlfriend, how do you get your happy on? What do you do to get your happy on? Is there something you do just for you, just for fun?
I dance. Yeah.
Well,
I specifically I do pole dancing. I love sexy dancing. So pole, heels, anything very, very sexy that way. Major sexual expression in
strong
dance
also,
for me.
people. She can climb a pole. She got to be strong.
I love it. It's
I'd
so
say you're
fun.
a little energetic in your sensuality. I would say that. Whatever.
Yeah.
So she's a pole dancer. I love it.
Yep. I love dance. It's so fun.
I'm your private dancer. Dance for money. Do what you want me to do. I wish Tina was still alive. Anyway, I just saw the musical, y'all. I took my mom to see the Broadway musical. We were front row center seats. It's amazing. You know, I'm going to put a plug in for that as well in the show notes. My God. Sorry, Vinny. Maybe you're taking notes, Vinny. I don't know. My producer. He's so cute. Anyway, that's all I got. If you guys enjoyed this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted. Oh, I can't hear her. That's so weird. Did we just lose sound? I think we did. Well, I can't read lips, especially without my glasses, but I'm sure she's saying it was really great being with you. You're fantastic. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Anyway, I know I'm very silly. So if you guys did enjoy this podcast, so please do me a favor, hit the subscribe button so that you'll be aware when these podcasts drop. The podcast actually drops every Thursday at 10 a.m. CST, which is Central Standard Time. But I also jump on for a lot of other little chats and things like that. So you would get announcements for that as well. And if you knew anybody that would have actually benefited from this conversation and should really be meeting Shelby, please share this link with them as well. Oh, now she's back.
Am I back? I did want to say thank you, but I also wanted to, if I can, to say I do have a couple of freebies that I definitely have one right now. I might have another one that's coming out by the time this comes out. So I have it's a yes, no, maybe list. It's an intimacy list. So there's a list for like the emotional intimacy as well as for physical intimacy on there. So that's a freebie that I have on my website. And then I am creating like this little private podcast series. I don't know whether it's going to be ready when this comes out or not, but it'll be based around, I think it's going to be around intimacy and attachment styles. So if you want to learn more about that, then that would be the place to go find it.
I do.
Yeah.
Because I think it would help me. And like I said, I teach what I must want to learn. So I can perhaps share that with my peeps as well. I love it.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you so very much. This has been a fantastic conversation, even if I say so myself. And so that's really all I got now.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Ciao for now, y'all. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for choosing happiness. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, share, and give us a like. And if you want more happy, subscribe to the Choosing Happiness membership where you can play directly with me, Rudrani Devi, the Happiness Lady. How does it get any better than that?